Welcome back in, everybody, to a Football Friday edition of Birds 365 here. Wildcard weekend coming up, and we're joined now by the great Les Bowen. Les Bowen, welcome to the show, man. Great to have you on. How you doing this
Just
morning?
great. Hey, Zander. Hey, John.
Les, good to see you, buddy. I guess we'll start with the Jalen Herz concussion protocol stuff. What was your panic meter?
Oh, it was 0. It was a great boon to talk radio, though.
Yeah,
we want to get excited about this stuff. You know, it was ridiculous. I was really disappointed. Nick Sirianni, fine coach, wonderful man, I'm sure, great husband and father, but the way he treated you guys every time you asked about this, it was like a kindergarten teacher, you know, addressing his class. Guys, he's in the protocol. I mean, that you can say you're not supposed to treat it like a sprained ankle. You're not supposed to say, oh, I know he'll be out there, blah, 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 you know, but you can say, hey, I talked to him yesterday. He seems to be doing pretty well. We'll see how, you know, the tests go. When he was at the walkthrough Saturday, which you guys don't get to go to.
Yeah.
So they mentioned it on the broadcast of the game.
Right.
And Nick seemed to be horrified that, you know, this had gotten out. Yeah. His whole approach to stuff like this just irritates
it's crazy.
me.
It is.
It really does. It's not a huge deal, but it's just silly. And it's
what do they think Green Bay's doing, Les? Yeah, they're waiting for if Jalen Herz is gonna. They know what the concussion protocol is.
Yeah, and they know that he hasn't played, you know, that it was weeks ago, that unless it was some really extraordinarily serious thing, which would have gotten out, by the way, if he was sitting in a darkened room for 2 weeks, unable to stand the light, you know, that would have made its way, you know, through agents.
Which,
or
by
something.
the way, I saw him after the game in Washington. So we're going back to December 22nd in Landover. I saw him there. I saw him at the facility, as some of us did. It was clear he's doing okay. But boy, this team is a little bit nuts when it comes to the competitive advantage stuff. And I'll quickly turn that into AJ Brown, because I'm more concerned about AJ Brown. So I want to get your thoughts about this.
Right.
They took off a week, right? So they're resting players against the Giants. Then they come back to practice. He can't finish on Wednesday. He doesn't practice on Thursday, and everything's fine. That is a red flag to me.
Well, it is. I mean, I'm sure he'll play, but something's not right, you know. And he's clearly not 100%. I don't know how much that'll matter, but it's a concerning thing. I guess you guys haven't had a chance to really talk to AJ.
No, he hasn't spoken because he hasn't practiced. So
yeah,
I do expect him to talk today, and he's going to play.
Yeah,
but obviously he's not right.
Right. What did he do to his knee, and when was it? You know, it was a long time ago, I guess, and it hasn't healed on its own. So that's not.
So that one's more of a concern. But overall, though, I mean, that's where you are in the NFL. I mean, week 18 now into the playoffs, bunch of teams have banged up players.
Oh yeah.
And overall, this is probably the healthiest team in football.
Yeah, I was actually looking back at that opener, the Brazil game, the Packers, and the Eagles could start the same 22 if they wanted to. Now, they probably won't start Bryce Hoff.
Or Avante Maddox, right?
Yeah.
Well, Maddox didn't start because they didn't start out in nickel. So, Maddox won't. Yeah, right. Exactly. And they actually started out with two tight ends. They started out with Calcaterra and first play, Calcaterra and Goddard that night. But there's nobody who was a starter then who is hurt. Now, Brandon Graham was a very important player, and I still think that's the biggest concern they have in the playoffs. The biggest thing approaching a weakness that they have. Their sacks leader this year was Josh Sweat with 8, which is okay, but but yeah, they are very, in comparison to a lot of the league, they are very, very healthy. It's a good situation to be in.
Yeah, Les, I want to go to Jalen Herz real quick and just your thoughts on getting him in rhythm in this game. I don't want to go down the rust route. I've gone down it enough, but look, you missed 2 weeks, or really almost 3 full weeks. I think it's natural to not be fully in rhythm when you step into the game. What would you like to see the Eagles do? I was going back and forth. I was originally thinking, well, hand the ball off to Saquon Barkley, right? Let Jalen find his footing and get yourself into the game. And then somebody pushed back and said, how about get him some short throws early and often like they did in the Steelers game and get him in rhythm that way? What would you like to see the Eagles do with Jalen early in this game?
Well, I think both of those things are pretty good ideas. Now, the Packers are very, very good against the run, and they're going to be expecting, to see Saquon Barkley a lot early. So I don't want to just give away the first couple of possessions, as the Eagles often do, by doing things that aren't going to be productive. I liked the last game, the way they got Tanner McKee going. They moved the pocket and gave him some really easy pitch and catch. That was the Giants they were playing, so maybe that's why it was easy. But it had some very easy roll out, hit this guy. I would love to see that the first series, to try to take some of the pressure, not have him dropping back and looking downfield and getting sacked and wandering around. Just get a rhythm going, like you said, right off the bat. How rusty is he going to? I don't know. I mean, he played an entire season before December 22nd, so it's not like he hasn't played in forever. But I do think they probably ought to be thinking about that a little bit.
The Packers are eerily similar to the Eagles in that they try to run the ball. They seem to have scaled back the offense from where it was early in the season because the quarterback was turning it over too much. And they both have playmaking quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Do you like that? Is that a concern for you at all?
It's just a concern in the general sense that this is a way better team than you would generally find coming to your stadium in a wild card game.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah,
it's there's been this whole discussion on sports. I think there are people on social media who still think Nick Sirianni is going to get fired if the Eagles lose Sunday, and he's not.
No.
And I think one of the reasons why is you're playing a really good team here. It's not like you'd be losing to the Giants or something. I mean, it's not quite a coin flip, but it's very close to that. And it's one game. It's not a series or anything. But they are very similar. The Packers went into the season. Jordan Love, the hype, if you remember back to the offseason, after he
highest paid quarterback of all time. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he was like the Washington court, Jaden Daniels. This time in the offseason, he was going to be the greatest thing ever, and they had to pivot on that a little bit as the season went by. And the opener, by the way, presaged that a little bit. He didn't have a great passing night against the Eagles.
No.
He gave an interception. Reed Blankenship did one of the first of his diving interceptions this season, and they ended up depending a lot on Josh Jacobs, but they're a little bit weird in that, along with Josh Jacobs, they do have success downfield. They throw the long ball maybe more than the Eagles do. That hasn't been successful against the Eagles at all this season, so I think that's a good, that's a good omen. But the Eagles have had trouble with quarterbacks who can move. That is a bit of a concern, and just the fact that this is a really good team. Defensively, I think the Packers, they benefit a lot from turnovers. I think they would be giving up a lot more yards and points if they didn't get as many turnovers as they get. And
Xavier McKinney, man. He's always been an Eagles killer too.
I'm Jalen Hurts killer too. He's got Jalen Hurts' number too.
I kind of have this. I mean, turnovers are very, very important, and you can, the peanut punch and things like that, you can generate turnovers, but they're often largely dependent on luck.
There's some randomness to it.
Yes, there is.
Coaches hate to admit that, but
they do, and Nick hates it.
Yeah,
but,
maybe not the Drew Aller turnover last night.
That
Oh,
poor guy. I felt
boy.
so bad for him.
Yeah, it was a bad throw there.
But are the Eagles going to turn it over a lot against this team? I don't see that. It hasn't happened in a long time. I think Green Bay needs for the Eagles to turn it over at least a couple times in order to win the game. And if that doesn't happen, I think the Eagles win.
Les, I'm going to give you my biggest concern about the Eagles coming into this game. And if you told me even 3 weeks ago this would be my biggest concern, I would have told you were wrong. And it's continued to creep up more and more. Jake Elliott.
Yeah, I know where you're going.
Every point matters in the playoffs, and kickers become more and more important as you get later into the year. Obviously, the games get closer, the teams get better, and the points become more important. How concerned are you with Jake Elliott right now? His worst kicking percentage since 2020.
A little. I don't know what exactly the weather's going to be like Sunday. I know it's going to be cold, but
it's not going to be bad. 40-ish, sunny.
Yeah,
looks like it's going to be.
If the wind isn't terrible, I don't expect him to miss a 39-yarder like he did against the Giants. But I do think, for whatever reason, we're not looking at the kind of range that we're used to having with Jake Elliott. I would be very leery of trying a 50-yard plus field goal with him right now. I'd be more inclined to go for it, frankly, on almost any situation that wasn't like 4th and 20 or something.
Right.
I think that has to enter into your equations. He can't, the guy that once banged a 61-yarder on the final play of a game, I don't think that's there right now for whatever reason. I know it's not there.
Right.
He's pretty much proved it's not there. So I'd be I don't have a lot of concern if he lines up for a 42-yarder, but
I wonder about the bigger.
However, Green Bay, I don't think has great kicking either. So,
the one thing they do have.
Well, they brought in Brandon McManus.
He's a Temple guy, isn't he? A Temple guy.
He's a Temple.
Yeah, he's been great. I'm sorry, their kicking before that wasn't.
Yeah,
you're right.
Kicking before that was terrible.
I was thinking about what they were doing before that.
Well, Les, I also think
McManus has done very, very well.
Yeah, I also think there's bigger things at play too with kicking. Like, could it change Nick Sirianni's approach when you're down there, right? Oh, I was gonna kick here, but I don't really trust Jake. Let me go for it here.
Yeah,
I think
that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
By the way, I like that. I think it's a positive. I like being aggressive.
Yeah, but if it's 4th and 4 and you've got a 54-yarder, I think last year you kicked the 54-yarder. This year, maybe you try for it on 4th and 4.
Yeah, I agree.
But I don't want to see any 20-yard punts to.
No.
Yeah.
That kind of crap.
I don't, or delay of game penalties to punt and flip the field.
I want to see Jake kicking off. I don't want to see any more of this.
Yeah, that's where I was
all
going
that
to
Michael
go.
Clay crap the other day about directions and.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. One guy can't get it to the end zone, and one guy can. I don't care about what direction you're wanting the returner to go, and just get it out of the end zone and don't have a return. That's the answer here.
Well, you brought up turnovers. I'll say, because Green Bay needs something to win the game. It might be a turnover. It could also be a special teams play. And they have one of the best kick returners in football.
They do.
And if they're messing around with these kickoffs, all of a sudden Keyshawn Nixon, you saw Turpin, he almost got one. In the Cowboys game.
Yeah, the Eagles aren't that good at covering it. They really aren't.
And Keyshawn Nixon is a kind of guy who can take it to the house. So maybe special teams could be an area where Green Bay gets a big play. Any concern there? Because as you mentioned, Michael Clay, we ask him every week. It's like, what's the thought process here? And he's not clear. And I like Michael. He's very honest, normally very open, but he's never clear about that. Like, why? What about the game plan? Why are you toggling back and forth between Braden Mann and Jake Elliott? Doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, he said something this week about, mixing it up, and it's almost like he had a left-hander and a right-hander or something out of the bullpen, and he was wanting to. But the Braden Mann kickoffs lately haven't produced good results, so you don't worry about whatever it is that you thought you were getting from that.
Yeah.
Just forget it.
Yeah, if your left-hander's giving up a 3-run home run, who cares about mixing it up? Get the guy who can get an out. So I'm with you. And by the way, I don't know if it'll help Jake Elliott, but if that gets him into the game a little bit more, warms him up, maybe that helps his kicking as well. Who knows? Kickers are a strange breed.
They are. I guess I think maybe they wanted to save his leg a little bit with some of this, but I don't see at this point every game's your last, so.
How old is Jake Elliott? Like, is he getting old? We said, he
I don't think so. Is he 30-ish yet?
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, he's right around 30. I'll look it up.
And he's in tremendous shape. He's a very good athlete. People think
tremendous athlete.
Because he's a little tiny guy, but he was a great tennis player, great golf player. I saw an Eagles softball game once where he was the shortstop.
He was the home run. He won the home run.
He was all over the field, a tremendous athlete for his size. But what has happened this year, I think it's in his head. I don't think it's physical.
Jake, by the way, is turning 30 in 11 days, January 21st. So
there you go.
And kickers, if you take care of yourself, you can kick well into your 30s.
Oh,
I don't really think
that's what I mean. I just wonder because, they took him
Yeah.
off kickoffs, which I thought was interesting, and they explained it that they thought Braden Mann did better. I don't really see any difference between the two. And then the distance, it just hasn't been there. I mean, you mentioned the 61-yarder. I don't think there's a chance at a 51-yarder right now, let alone a 61-yarder.
Yeah, it's stunning. It's a huge drop off, and it is concerning a little because you're not in that situation every game. You don't attempt a 50-yard plus field goal every game, but things have it like the ball finds the weakest fielder on the baseball field, which was often me. And the same thing happens with things that you aren't good at in playoff football games.
Yeah. All right. We talked about offense, special teams. Now it's time for Vic Fangio and the defense. Boy, Les, talking about assistant coach of the year. AP has that award now. Typically, if you handle it like coach of the year, Andy Reid never gets coach of the year because it's always they always give it to the guy who oversees
them to be good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, if they do that with assistant coach, it's got to be Vic freaking Fangio.
Yes.
Who had this defense anywhere near being number one in the NFL after last season? I don't think people talk about that enough. Where this defense has come and how good they've been. And it's got to start with him, right? I mean, the players, he gave the players I asked him that question. If there was any personal gratification, he's never had a number one defense before. And his entire storied career, and he's doing it with Zach Bond and Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean.
Without the great edge rush, as I mentioned, they don't have, one of the league's better edge. They have the guys in the middle who are Jalen Carter's having a
Milton Williams having
tremendous year. Milton Williams is having a tremendous year. Jomo is an excellent change of pace guy to stick in there. The only thing you could, and I'm all, Vic Fangio should get that award, but I think if I were Sean Desai, I would say, where were these players last year? Some of them weren't as good, and maybe that's because the coaching wasn't as good. I don't know. But some of them just weren't here, Cooper DeJean made a gigantic difference in what was a pretty mediocre defense, frankly, a real up and down defense before he got here. By the way, that's another eerie similarity with the Packers. They have their own Cooper, who's a rookie, Edgerrin Cooper, who has transformed their defense.
He is doing a great job.
And that's something that wasn't quite there in the opener. He wasn't what he is now. So both teams, have evolved as the season's gone on, and it's going to be a hell of a game. It really is. I can't imagine. I don't think it'll be a high scoring game, but I think it'll be a close game. I can't imagine a blowout either way.
What are the keys? What are the keys, Les, do you think, for an Eagles victory in this game?
Well, wear them down, which is always the Eagles' key. And that opener in Brazil, I don't know if you remember, but the Eagles got the ball back with 7:52 remaining and a 2-point lead. And they kept it from then until 30 seconds left when Elliott hit a chip shot field goal to give them a 5-point lead. And they wanted to score a touchdown. They actually fumbled a tush-push snap there at the goal line, and it ended up having to kick the field goal. But that's the kind of thing. That's the Eagles' identity. Wear them down in the second half, dominate the ball, keep Jordan Love off the field, high completion percentage, run, when you can. But I really think the Packers, you can throw on them, a little more than you can run on them. So I wouldn't go too heavy with this. Isn't going to be one of those games where the Eagles win it with 108 yards passing. They're going to have to throw it some. Defensively, I just think the long ball and Jacobs. If you keep Jacobs under like 80 yards, there's no way the Packers are going to win. If you don't give up the long ball, and Christian Watson isn't going to play, he's the big long ball guy. But Jaden Reed really killed the Eagles in the opener. Albeit against Avonte Maddox a lot.
Right. A lot of that in the slot.
Don't give up the long ball and keep Jacobs under a little bit of control, and I think you should be okay.
Sounds like, though, you think it's going to be a one-score game. I'm with you if that's the case. I think it's going to be a one-score game, and anytime that's that means crazy bounce of the football can go one way in the fourth quarter, and all of a sudden you end up losing. And I bring that up because of the talk you kind of said earlier about Nick Sirianni. If that's the case, he's not going anywhere. I think you and I are on the same page. He's not getting fired. However, if it is a blowout, for some, which I can't even picture, does that change it at all? Like, if it's a 40-10 Packers, like the Packers went in and beat down the Dallas Cowboys last year. If it's that type of win, is he in any trouble whatsoever?
Well, I can't imagine it happening, but I would have to say yes. I mean, if they look unprepared after all this, after the sitting out of the regulars and all the buildup for this, if he can't get a team ready to be competitive in a game like this, that would concern me greatly if I were Jeffrey Lurie. And I don't think I think last year he was conscious of the optics of firing a coach with such a good career record. This year it would be even more. The career record is right up there with anybody that's ever coached in 4 years. But you'd have 2 playoff blowouts in a row. I think that would be devastating. And I don't know where I would go if I were Jeffrey Lurie, but I would be asking a lot of questions of a lot of players, what they thought of Vic Fangio, what he thinks of, Kellen Moore, of, everybody around the team. I wouldn't do anything, I wouldn't run down to the locker room and fire him, but I would certainly spend the next week, with a very deep assessment of exactly what happened.
Yeah. I'm with you. It's not going to happen, but I just bring it up because those moments tend to be emotional, and people make emotional decisions after
never seen Jeffrey do that, though. I mean, he's not the kind of guy that makes an emotional decision.
Yeah,
the closest he came was that Tuesday in December when he decided that after Chip Kelly tried to find a loophole in that question about, well, you're the general manager here. Why is the talent not have you done a good job with the talent? And Chip denied he was the general manager, which technically he was not.
Yes.
And Lurie decided right then and there he'd heard enough of that crap.
He went the semantics route. By the way, Chip's got a chance to win a national championship.
How about that? Well, Chip beat Oregon's pants off last week, which I thought was something that wasn't nearly as explored as deeply as it could have been.
What an interesting dynamic with Ryan Day being the head coach and Chip Kelly being the offensive coordinator.
Not a big Ryan Day guy, but they're probably the best roster, I think.
I agree.
And I have a son who went to school there long before Ryan Day, so
there you go. That's a reason to root for him. Yeah.
The Ohio State University.
Yes, they won the national championship his senior year, which was very nice of them, he felt.
Nice. Les, all right, I'm going to run you through a scenario. Let's just say for a second the Eagles win the game on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Who will be the MVP of the game for the Eagles in a win over the Packers?
Ah, boy. I was not expecting this question.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a prepared answer for you. Devontae Smith.
Nice.
Oh, that's a sleeper.
He had 7 catches in the opener against the Packers. I don't think the Packers' corners are great. They're missing J.R. Alexander. As I said before, if you look at their defense, it's very, very, very good against the run, better than the Eagles against the run. But like 13th against the pass, which isn't terrible, but
it's not bad, but not great.
Not great. I just think there's probably going to be a lot of keying on AJ, and Devontae.
I'm going to go. I'll tell you who I'm going to go, Les.
Okay,
Jalen Carter.
I thought about that.
Yeah.
If he is the MVP, I mean, it'll be a real good. The Eagles might win by more than one score if he's the MVP.
Yeah, I think this is a big Jalen. You always want to get interior pressure on any quarterback, but the Packers' weakness on their offensive line is the center. I think he can do some things there.
I don't think that's a great offensive line overall, frankly.
It's okay.
Weird to me that they haven't given up very many sacks. Love must be doing a great job of getting the ball out.
He gets the ball out quickly.
Yeah.
Zach Tom's really good. But interior, they're not great. And that's obviously where Jalen Carter is, who's difficult to deal with for anybody. So I'm going to go Jalen Carter, but we're going to put you on the spot at Les Bowen. Make sure you follow Les on the X platform. Read him at PHLY, doing a tremendous job over there with our buddy Zach and Bo. Give me a score. Who's going to win the football game?
Something like 26-21 Eagles.
I like it.
That's right around the spread.
I'm right around that
the
score.
Daily News, they never liked me to pick right around the spread because the spread could change a little, and I'd be either predicting, that they wouldn't cover or would cover, depending on, if it moved half a point. But that's about what it feels like to me, frankly. I don't see it, as a blowout. It could be. The Eagles have the best roster.
Yes. Yes.
In fact, they have the best roster in the playoffs. If Detroit, unless Detroit gets a bunch of people back.
They're getting some back, by the way.
Yeah.
Detroit. David Montgomery's supposed to be back for the divisional round.
Aiden Hutchinson isn't, though.
No.
And I still say the Eagles have the best roster. They might not have – I think Detroit is the toughest, most mentally tough group, in football. And I think Kansas City
they
just wins.
They
have Mahomes and they win, but the Eagles have the best roster. So I picked them 26-21. And if I'm wrong,
Les, if Aiden Hutchinson didn't get hurt, I would have waved off this fight, the entire NFL.
Yeah.
I would have said, this is over.
Yeah. I don't know if they would have lost, I mean, it was, that's a hell of a team. I'm not sure Goff is, if it gets down to Goff Mahomes or even Goff Josh Allen, that might be a problem for Detroit, but it's not like he's terrible or anything.
No, I mean, as long as you keep him clean, if he's on it, he's the most accurate quarterback in the NFL. But you have to keep him clean. If if he's moving around, he's not nearly as good as those guys, obviously.
Right.
But yeah, they're a very good team. The Eagles are a very good team. I think there's like 5 legitimate Super Bowl contenders, and the Eagles are one of them. And that's where you want to have a shot. The window is open, but you got to play well.
And the good thing about this from an Eagles standpoint, and I hate to say this because I covered teams in this situation so many times, and it a lot of times it doesn't work out, but it's not like they should be a horrible team next year if they don't win.
No,
no. They have the pieces in place. They might need a few things, but this is clearer than 2018 was or 2023 was. Assuming that you can sign Zach Bond,
that might be tough.
You got to do it, though, I think.
Les, when you say they can add a few things, what? Like they have the number 1 defense and they have every position on. I don't think there's a position left on offense to upgrade at this point. I really don't.
And who's going to retire off of this team other than maybe Brandon Graham, who isn't here right now on the field anyway?
Right.
Exactly. By the way, real quick, who do you think is better, the 2022 Eagles or this group?
Oh, this group, the 2022 Eagles had great defensive stats, but they played such an easy schedule. I think we all understood before it happened in the Super Bowl that their defense was a paper tiger, that a good quarterback ripped them up, whenever they faced one. That has not been the case this year.
That has not been the
case.
case.
The Eagles faced Lamar Jackson. He did not rip them up. I will take this team over the 20. Now Jalen Hurts. That's what I'm with you. Jalen Hurts of 2022. Yes. I might prefer.
I'm with you. The defense is better, but I think the offense in 2022 was better, and it was more well-rounded.
Yeah,
Jalen Hurts was better. Obviously, Miles. People forget he had a great season. I'm not saying he's Saquon Barkley, but I think they were better because the unintended consequence of running the football so well has turned. Here's the most interesting stat to me, Les, that the Eagles are 31st in passing attempts, and they have the 29th ranked passing offense. Makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Well, Green Bay's 30th in passing attempts, and they have like the 13th ranked passing offense.
Yeah.
Like the efficacy is not there for the Eagles.
Right. And actually Hertz has a higher completion percentage than Jordan Love. It's distance.
Yeah.
It's throwing the ball downfield.
Yeah.
But the 2022 Jalen Hurts, a lot of it was his legs. And that just isn't, as we saw in the Washington game, you can do that, but you really don't want him, winning games with his legs a lot. And they did that in 2022. The game he hurt his shoulder in Chicago, their offense was crap that day. And they just told Jalen to go out and run around and do something. And so they could get out of there with a win. And he ended up with a shoulder that could have kept him out of the playoffs if it had been a little bit more serious. So 2022 is problematic. Offensively, yes, they were more productive, but I don't think that was sustainable, what they were doing in 2022. And, I kind of like I like the fact that they have this defense now. I really do. I think that's important in the playoffs.
Yep, no doubt about it. Les, thanks for joining the show today, man. Great stuff. As always, we love talking to you here on Birds 365. Make sure you guys follow Les on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, at Les Bowen, one of the best in the business. Les, thank you, man. We appreciate it.
Thank you, guys, and look forward to seeing what happens. Maybe we can talk about it afterwards.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you, Les.
Thanks, Les.
There's Les Bowen joining us on Birds 365. Great stuff there from Les. I would love getting Les's perspective on the game. Been covering the team for a long time, Johnny Mac. So anytime you get that, you get good perspectives on the game.
Yeah, Les is great. Not just because he sees it the same way as I do. It's gonna be a one-score game, man. I really believe that.
You're not gonna like my score prediction.
Yeah, you're going to have the Eagles routing them. I think they're.
I think I've been pretty fair on most of my score predictions this year. I will explain my prediction when we give them in a couple of minutes here.
And I will explain mine. Yeah, I and all of this tends to be on, like, if Jordan Love is not healthy, I think the Eagles, if he doesn't have any zip on his arm, I think the Eagles are going to win rather easily. If he's healthy, I think there's going to be some hearts and throats at Lincoln Financial Field in the fourth quarter, because it's going to come down to the fourth quarter.
All right, John, what's your score prediction?
I do have the Eagles winning the game, so that's
Nice.
a positive. But one score game, I'm going 27-23 Eagles, and I've said it all week. Maybe the Packers have the football drive and to win the game. It's going to be C.J. Gardner-Johnson making the play.
Yeah, you were saying that all week. I like it.
It's going to be C.J. or Xavier, one or the other, making the play to seal the game for their respective team. I'm going to say Packers have the ball late, opportunity to win it with a touchdown. Jordan Love pushes it a little bit too much. CJ makes the play. Eagles survive.
I like it. Good prediction there, John. My prediction is going to be a little bit of an embodiment of, I feel like, how the Eagles season has gone. Now, last night I did a phone interview on the night show for the Screwballs audience, and I gave a prediction that I didn't have on the top of my head. I told Krause going in, I'm like, I don't have my prediction ready. He still hit me with a prediction. So I gave him one on the fly, and I'm going to alter it just a little bit. So if I air that content out, you'll know that I'm altering it today versus my Thursday night prediction. I'm going 30-20 Eagles. And the reason I'm going 30-20 is I have it being 23-20 late in the game. At no point in this game am I anticipating the Eagles to have this comfortable big lead where there's no worry. I think it's going to be a good, close game all throughout. And I like, similar to what we did against the Steelers, I think a long drive late in the game with a Saquon touchdown run makes it from 23-20 to 30-20. And I don't think the Packers can answer. And that's where my prediction comes from. I got 30-20 Philadelphia Eagles getting the win.
All right. I thought it was going to be worse, like 30-10 or 30-13.
Well, the reason I can't do that, and even my prediction's out on a limb, John, if you look at the Packers' losses, their biggest loss was a 10-point loss to the Lions, and the game really didn't – it was really a closer game. Their other loss to the Lions was by 2 points. Their two losses to the Vikings were by 2 and 5 points. They kept every single game close this year in on all of their losses. So they're not a team that gets blown out. I don't think they're going to get blown out this weekend.
They might get blown out in a half. They were down 28-0, I know.
Right.
At one point to the first game against Minnesota. And then they came roaring back and had a chance to win it. So
Izzy B says 31-7 Eagles easy. Holy shit. 30-17 El Yepa says he won the Hockey Eagles jersey yesterday. That was my prediction on Thursday night show, was 30-17.
As always, I want one Packer fan.
Any Packer picks.
Give me one Packer pick.
In the chat have a Packer win.
It's always a bad sign when nobody picks the other team.
John, I don't even think Pumper picked the Packers. Although he did say Jordan Love legacy game. So maybe he's picking the Packers.
Yeah. You need one. You gotta cross your finger.
Pumper picked the Pack. Okay, so
all right.
Pumper, our resident Pumper did pick the Packers. So you got your Packer pick.
Yeah. I think it's the best game of the weekend. It's no longer Super Wildcard weekend, but I do think it's the best game, and I think it's going to live up to the billing. It might even be you need Jake Elliott to be Mitch Jeter. Maybe you need that
to win too.
Yeah.
Brandon Lewis, who had our good super chat earlier in the show. Brandon, thank you. Packers win 28-17. Speaking of super chats, John, one real quick before I let you go here. Terrence, I'm a JAKIB fan for 2 months. Terrence, thank you, bro. Crowley upgraded to a legend member. Crowley, that's cool of you, man. Thank you. And Jack Dwight checks in. Eagles are first team to lead the league in pass defense with no interceptions from any of the cornerbacks on the roster. That's a crazy stat right there.
Yeah, I don't get too caught up in that kind of stuff other than, there's two sides to it. Like, I always temper the people that say, lockdown, Guantanamo Bay. I always temper those people. But then on the other side, the people that say he's not good because he doesn't have any interceptions, I try to temper that side. Well, the NFL has paid a major focus. You see it with these two particular teams. They were turning it over a little bit early in the season, and they went bent over backwards to protect the football, and they both done it effectively. The Jalen Herz never throws interceptions. Jordan Love never throws interceptions. Now, people take care of the football. They're shorter throws. They don't take as many chances. And generally when it happens, it's the center fielder, CJ and Xavier McKinney in this game.
Yeah.
So
and Reed had some picks this year too. But yeah, I see what you're saying.
So
all right, Johnny Mac. Good stuff, man. What's the agenda for the day for the Birds?
They move stuff back. Nick's gonna talk before practice at 12:05-ish. Practice is at 1:00. Locker rooms at 2:30. So scaling things back because they're again the fields are frozen at NovaCare Complex, so they're using the heated field at Lincoln Financial Field, and who knows, that might help them as well to get used to the environment for game day. They've been practicing there all week, and yeah, it's playoff football is here. It's here.
It's here, baby. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to rumble, Johnny Mac. Wild card weekend, baby. Looking forward to it. John, great week of shows, man. We will talk to you on the pregame and the postgame show and the halftime show this weekend for the much-anticipated wild card playoff game versus the Green Bay Packers. John, thanks for doing it today, brother. We will talk to you on Sunday.
All right, everybody, enjoy Ohio State, Texas, and then it's playoff football Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
Good stuff, Johnny Mac. I'm going to stick on with the people. I gotta work a little deal with the people in the chat today, but I'll do that now. John, thanks for doing it, man. We'll talk to you Sunday.
All right, see you guys.
See you, man. Good stuff from Johnny Mac here on Birds 365. I see Izzy B. Zander time. Izzy B, we've had a poor showing today for a football Friday before wild card weekend. I mean, you guys, I got a tub of giveaways. What do I give away when we have had a poor showing today?